everybody's feeling well. I hope everybody's living well. I hope everybody is keeping your health up. Hope everybody's staying blessed, doing what needs to be done out here. For real. Shout out to all the new supporters of the channel. Thank y'all so very much. I really appreciate y'all. It's a family effort, team effort, whatever we're doing today. It's all about sticking together and finding that common ground, that resonance of energy. I think that's what the whole wheat and tail scenario on a sub level. Well, I hate that word sub. I don't like that word sub. On an alternative level is really detailing. We got to really try to figure out how to come together. Okay, let me see something real quick. Let's see if I can kind of get some more sunlight popping out. But sometimes the reflection is tripping, and I hold the camera a certain way, then I get, the bars up, all that good stuff. But basically, I don't know if y'all been paying attention to the news. There's been a few passings away. Okay, a few people have lost their existence in this realm. And of course, folks are dying suddenly still. Folks are just dropping off and don't nobody know what's going on. Recently, it was a 16-year-old girl from Las Vegas. She was playing flag football. Her name was Ashari Hughes. She was playing flag football outside, 16 years old. And she messed around and collapsed on the field. Okay? They rushed her to the hospital, and her parents got there, and she passed away. Now, obviously, a 16-year-old shouldn't be passing away from no sudden heart issues. And why I'm saying sudden is the coroner did the autopsy on her vessel and said that she passed away from something called anomalous origin of the right coronary artery from left coronary sinus or basalza, the coroner office said. Then they go on to say that her death was described as being natural. And I was like, when I read that, I said, don't no healthy child, no 15, 16-year-old child, die from something that serious naturally. Meaning that a child would have had to go through the EKGs and all of the different things to register heart rate. I remember when I was a little boy, I couldn't even play hard sports until I was 15 years old because every year I had to go to Children's Hospital in Oakland. Every year I had to go see Dr. Ahern. I hope he's cool. If he's not, he rest in peace. Because he was an old man when I was a little boy. I had to go see Dr. Ahern. And every year I had to go and run on the treadmill. I had to run on the treadmill for 30 minutes. And they had to hook up the EKG machine to my chest to make sure that my heart was pumping the right way and to make sure that I didn't have any issues. That wasn't something that just came on. Okay, that wasn't something that just happened out of nowhere. And so, once I was finally cleared to play sports in, the 10th grade, then I could play basketball. Before that, I couldn't play NJB. I couldn't play basketball. All I could play was baseball, and all I could do was martial arts. I couldn't play football. I couldn't play soccer, and they wouldn't let me play basketball. Okay? But I could play baseball and martial arts. So that was my thing until I got scared. But the point is, it didn't just come out of nowhere. Okay? So when I think about what happened to the young sister, Ashari Hughes, obviously red flags is going on in my mind because I'm like, as I'm reading the rest of the description, things are starting to be more clear to me. You know how we do, especially in terms to that Jabberwock. You know what I'm saying? So let me tell you what else the coroner said. Well, the article said playing flag football, she collapsed, which we just talked about, and she passed away shortly after she was taken to the hospital. Now, her parents said she was having heart problems, but hadn't gotten an official diagnosis yet. So see what I'm saying? Any parent who has a child, and I find more so with young ladies and girls, they're going to do everything in their power to immediately address what's going on with the child. Okay? And so If this was something that she was born with, a condition she was born with to the point where she was part of that rare 3% that has this affected by her all throughout her life, her parents wouldn't have made the statement of, oh, she was having heart problems. Because then they go on to say, but hadn't gotten an official diagnosis yet. That's why I brought myself up. I had to go to Children's Hospital. That's where the official diagnosis came from. So for her to not have gotten an official diagnosis yet, that meant that whatever was going on with her, it just began. So all we got to do is scratch our head and say, I wonder why it just began. And all of us should know why it just began. Wink, wink. Okay? So they hadn't gotten the official diagnosis yet, and I'm sure they were trying to wait and see, the parents and her were trying to wait and see if this thing would pass by. Now, it's getting kind of windy. Let me stand right here real quick, just in case the wind try to catch the camera or something, so I can catch everything in the fall. So, if it falls. So, they hadn't gotten the official diagnosis yet, which is really unfortunate. But I don't think it was going to be no diagnosis that the doctors was going to willing to say this is what it is, because she didn't have a history. You see how they play? To get an official diagnosis for something that serious, the child or the individual would have had to have a history prior to going into the doctor's office saying this is what I think is happening. Other than that, the doctor would have just said, oh, take it easy. Don't do too much strenuous exercise. Come back in about a month or so, and let's see what's going on. Well, she didn't have a month. She didn't have a month. And she was a healthy young lady who was just playing flag football and collapsed on the field. Okay, so that's something that has to be taken into consideration, which makes me say we can't even trust coroners. Because coroners are supposed to be people that provide closure for a family, especially when it's a medical condition that takes a family member out. We know if somebody passes from a car accident, vehicular manslaughter, some sort of bullet or stab wound, we know, thank you, Awakening Goddess, we know that that individual went out that way. But when somebody dies or passes away from a symptom or a condition that's not obviously surface level, that's where the coroner really got to step in and have to say, okay, well, this is what happened after our conclusion. We conclude that this is what it was. Or after our research into the matter, this is what we concluded to be. It's very difficult today to get the proper understanding of what's going on if the coroner is in on the game. Shalom, Lady Ironside, Shalom, thank you for joining us. Shalom. So it's very different in that respect. So we got to keep that in mind too. And now we're getting all sorts of causes of death from people who's getting paid, whose palms is getting greased to tell us things that aren't necessarily true about these causes of death to keep us from asking questions. Okay? Now, they go on to say that this is a rare congenital abnormality. Okay? And that myocardial ischemia, aka reduced blood flow, okay, is the cause of this sort of symptom according to the National Library of Medicine. Now, one of the things that myocardial ischemia, aka reduced blood flow, causes to happen to the heart is what is also called SCD, or sudden cardiac death, meaning an otherwise healthy individual drops dead due to their heart stopping to pump blood. The whole main reason for the heart in the middle of the chest is to pump blood throughout the rest of the arteries. But if those arteries are clotted, like the clot shot, or those arteries are jammed up from the Jabberwocky, we know that blood is going to start coagulating within the body. If any of y'all have seen the documentary Died Suddenly, all of these cadavers, which is a body, a vessel that is no longer animated, all of these cadavers that were supposedly died suddenly, they all had big, nasty clots being pulled out of the artery, out of the heart cavity. It was nasty, okay? It was nasty. And to think that individuals are suffering not knowing why, because this is a new occurrence for them. Like I said, it's one thing to be a child and have to go to the doctor year after year to have something checked out, to eventually figure out what the cause of the issue is and to be closely monitored that way. It's a whole nother thing to go your whole life, through your childhood, your adolescence, and your mid-teenage years, to all of a sudden have these issues come on, and you don't know why the issue is here. You thinking maybe I just worked out too hard today. I don't know. Maybe I ate something. Maybe I'm extra gassy. I don't know. So that's the mindset. And these folks aren't even given the opportunity to go into the doctor. Or once they go to the doctor says, oh, just give it a month or so and come back. We ran all the tests. Nothing seems to be coming back conclusive enough for us to make a proper assertion of what's going on. So you just come on back. This young lady didn't even have a chance to come back, y'all. So she passed away. Let's send our condolences to the family, right? That was Ashari Hughes. Now, the next individual that caught the news is Lynette Hardaway. Lynette Hardaway was one half of the duo Diamond and Silk. I know a lot of y'all remember Diamond and Silk from back when President Trump was running for campaigning, and they was who we all was looking at as kind of coonish. You know what I'm saying? Because we looking at President Trump, and then we like, who is these black folks supporting President Trump? Almost like what Kanye was doing with the Make America Great hats again. So they was supportive of President Trump. So that's how they itched out their place in pop culture and modern history, right? But one of the sisters recently passed away, and I didn't hear cause of death. But President Trump said something very peculiar. And before I get to what he said, part of the article suggests that she was kind of feeling ill over the last year or so. Again, I have made a prediction, as well as a few other people, I'm sure. I don't have to be the only one to say that this year, 2023, doctors even said this. Keep it 100 with you. A lot of the medical practitioners who had got disenfranchised from their industry, who were well-learned, well-studied individuals who realized what was going on from 2020 to right now, have been saying that, hey, we're going to see a great upsurge in death right now because there's a lot that went on behind that Jabberwocky that people ain't talking about, but we know what's going on because we are medicine practitioners and we see the ramifications of this certain issue. Watching 2023, how things begin to pick up as far as people dying suddenly and people dropping like flies, right? And this is what we're seeing. It's not even February. We just started 2023, and we're already seeing this upsurge of when people were dealing with this back in January of last year, and all throughout the year, feeling like everything is going to be okay. And now we're in January of this year, 2023, Gregorian time, and we're seeing what's going on. So this Lynette Hardaway, a.k.a. Diamond, of Diamond and Silk, she pretty much died suddenly. In her case, though, she wasn't feeling too good according to certain reports, and all we could say is, but check this out, though. President Trump, he said something on his website that really struck a chord in me, that caused me to look between the lines, just like all this other stuff, but it was a very obvious thing he said. Look what he said. He said, in regards to her passing away, probably her big and precious heart just plain gave out. Probably her big and precious heart just plain gave out. That's a direct quote from President Trump's website. Her big and precious heart just probably gave out. That sounds like what's happening to all these other folks. They big and precious heart is just plain giving out. Why is that big and precious heart giving out? That's what happened to Ashari Hughes. Her precious heart just plain gave out. And she was a young lady, 16 years old. Diamond, she passed away at 51, another young lady. Okay? She is young too. Way too young to be passing away like that. Now, obviously, the Most High have a number for all of us, and all of us is going to have to answer to that call unless we are those who in this last day end up avoiding that because of the return of the Most High. okay? Because we have been caught up in the whirlwind, and because now we are standing on the sea of mingled glass looking down at the judgment of the rest of the world going to take place, okay? That's how we can only hope to be translated off of this mortal and corruptible realm, right? But if that doesn't happen for any one of us, then we know that 9 times out of 10, we have a number. And that number, once it's pulled, we have to stand and answer for that. And we will be translated out of these physical vessels, and then we will pass away. So let's not sensationalize the situation, okay? We know everybody got to go at some time unless that X factor is accounted for, the spiritual X factor of the Most High day of his appointment, day of his return. Other than that, we all got a number. So for this lady to pass away under some more extreme, unusual circumstances, we got to take note of that. Our condolences to her family as well. I believe that Diamond and Silk was actually a sister duo. They was actually sisters. And so I could only imagine the pain that the other sister is feeling right now. Then we got one more, y'all. We got another person that passed away. Now this one, out of all 3 of the stars, or out of all 3 of the individuals that passed, there was another woman, another young lady. She was 18 years old, and her name is Victoria Lee. Now, it's so interesting. I had just gotten information and found out about this young lady, I want to say last August of last year. And I found out about her because she was on my thread in YouTube. She was on my YouTube thread. And I might not have known about her had she not been on my YouTube thread. Let me see. One of my beer hairs got caught in my sweater zipper. Hold on. I would not have found out about her if I wasn't scrolling through YouTube and saw this young MMA prodigy that was doing her dang thing out there, and she became a champion at a young age. I believe she was the youngest MMA champion for the One Championship Network, or the One Championship League, similar to the UFC, except it's One Championship. And her whole family fights. She's the youngest girl. Her oldest sister, I believe, name is Angela Yee, and then they have 2 brothers in between them, and then it's Victoria Lee, the baby. Well, Victoria Lee, the whole family, they well trained. They've been in martial arts, I believe, their whole life, and they well trained. Her cardio is up, everything is right. She has to fight 5-6 minute rounds, you know. And what happened with her, I believe it was December 26th that she passed away, but the family didn't let the world know until a few days ago, on the 7th or 8th, okay, of January. Now, what's the deal with that? The deal, again, is it's a similar issue, where she passes away suddenly, okay? She dies suddenly, and no one knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows exactly why. Her sister left some cryptic messages, is like, you know, check on your loved ones, make sure everybody's cool, and this and that. And a lot of people who are responding to her particular article, they're saying things like, oh, she must have took herself out the game, and this and that. I don't see that happening. She was very accomplished. She had everything going for her. She's on the top of her division. She's a young prodigy. She's doing what she needs to do. And other people were blaming it on PEDs, performance enhancement drugs, and this and that. I'm not even going to put it on that. I'm going to go back to the clock shop. I'm going to go back to the Jabberwocky. Because the fact of the matter is, for her to experience in that arena and for her to fight at these promotions, she had to go on and do the dang thing with that thing, okay? And they all did. So I would be very concerned if I was her family, especially those who are still performing, those who are still fighting. I would really take account of this and try to figure out how I can remediate my body in a healthy way so that I could avoid that similar outcome. All right? So our condolences to their family as well. And I'm sure they trying to put two and two together too, and trying to figure out exactly what's going on and how to deal with the loss of a loved one. All three families are dealing with the loss of three superstars within a matter of a week or so. Yep, the ages are younger and younger, dying of the same thing. What's in common? Right. Great point. All three of them, I'm sure, have in common the Jabberwocky, okay, the clock shot. And the problem with this is that young sister that was down in Las Vegas, Ashari Hughes, she collapsed on the field just like the brother, DeMar Hamlin, if that's his name, the brother from the Buffalo Bills, who just collapsed on live TV. Now, they got to him in time, and they was able to administer whatever they needed to administer to him in time so that he can get some form of life back in him. But I don't think he'll be playing no more. I think we're going to hear from him. He's probably going to be retiring soon unless he can remediate his body and get that stuff out of his body. A lot of folks that have gone through the medical situation that we're talking about, who made it on the other side, they all have another thing in common. They've all been given multiple pills to take, multiple medications that they now have to take daily in order to keep their health up when these was otherwise normally healthy individuals. So those of us who have our thinking caps on, who light is on upstairs, clearly know that it's some madness going to go on. Now, let's bring it back to the spiritual level. Let's bring it back to the biblical side of things, you know, the prophetic side of things. For those of you who have been paying attention over there in Northeast Africa, you would know that the Euphrates River has dried up. It's completely dried up. Now, biblical scripture prophecy tells us that once that Euphrates River dries up, that the sixth angel is going to sound. And the sixth angel is going to release a vial. And out of that vial is going to come a lot of turmoil. Out of that vial is going to come death. A third of men are prophesied to die because of that vial and what's released out of that vial. Okay? Also, there's some angels that have been locked away under the Euphrates that are going to be released to cause havoc and wreak havoc in the land. So when you think about how biblical prophecy is being fulfilled right before our very eyes, but yet we still have many folks who simply aren't able to understand that prophecy or are able to believe what's going on, it's a very trying time indeed. And no matter what folks like myself can do and say in regards to standing up and choosing to speak these sorts of messages and choosing to articulate to the best of our ability the connection between all of this, it's like you have to have eyes to see. You have to be blessed with the eyes to see, like I was blessed with the eyes to see. If I wasn't blessed with the eyes to see, I wouldn't see what's going on. Excuse me. And hopefully somebody could come along that says the right keyword or says the right thing that gets my attention, that would help me to realize and recognize what I need to begin studying, what I need to begin looking into, what I need to focus on in order to be better for myself, in order to make some sense of this. So I'm not lost in sensationalism. So I'm not lost in the sauce as far as people saying this thing or people saying that thing and just all these different things being said to the point where I'm like, you know what, man, forget all of that. I don't care about none of it. How about that? How about I just go back to watching my football game? How about I go back to just watching my baseball game? How about I go back to just doing what it was that I want to do? Okay? So we got to do our best to not move into that mental state. Okay? And that's why I think it's so important to continue talking about these issues, continue talking about the in-between the lines about what's going on. All right? I don't want to keep it too long. I want to shout out everybody who's been supporting the channel. I know we got some new supporters. If y'all look at the